Fame, a disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy. Think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me. I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirst.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Atheist Women Unload. I am your host 2 weeks in a row. My goodness. See, atheists, miracles can happen. Well, today we're going to talk about something that seems to be appropriate right now. We got a lot of different things that's coming down the pipeline from the government, and some people can even say that it's been motivated by patriarchy. So let's talk about gender wars. I have a whole panel of guests that we're going to be discussing this whole thing with. So let's go ahead and bring them on. Let's bring on, well, this is a co-host of also Atheist Women Unload. Let's first start out with Cindy Plaza.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Cindy?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy that you are here as well. You ready to have this talk?
Yes. Heated talk.
Yes, it is a very, very heated talk. Hot, it's sizzling. Okay, so we ready to bring back on our panelists that are going to help us with this discussion?
Sure. There's one in the lot. Can we leave him outside? I don't really like him. So.
Oh my God, are you talking about secular Rarity?
Cindy's just mad because our team is better. We're here to win the gender war. I get it, Cindy. You know, it's fine. I mean, look, you got a good team. You got Cynthia on your side. I don't want to give away the other panelists, but you got a good team. But come on. I mean, we got this. You just
Okay. I'll allow you for today.
All right. Thanks.
We also have a team all the way from Barbados, Mr. Philip Grant.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Good to have you. That's my Bajan brother from another mother. That's what we called him back in the day.
Yeah.
Do we also have Aaron? I believe that Aaron is also joining us as well. Ryan? Right.
I'll do. That's
fine.
Right.
That's fine. Right. Like I was actually going to bring up best for last, Ryan, because Ryan, this is the first time that
I'm ready for war.
Yeah. You got your dukes.
Get her, Phil.
Yeah, I know. I gotta go and get my saber. I gotta go and get my saber. Oh,
are you gonna get your saber?
Yeah, my lightsaber.
I float like a butterfly.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it looks like that we all have our entire guest panel that's here. We got Ryan Coltastic, we got Philip Grant, Phil the Skeptic from Barbados, the Asian brother, and also a member of the Barbados Humanist Society. We have Secular Rarity, who is slowly but surely taking over the atheist community of Austin, and we have Cindy Plaza, also co-host of this show. Slowly but surely, ACA, you all better watch out. He has a plan.
I'm fighting all kinds of wars today, apparently.
You know,
It's tough.
You totally are. So let's talk about this, guys. So last week we had like a part 2 of the dark side of Roe versus Wade, and one of the things that kind of sparked me for wanting to have this conversation is that I was seeing a lot of toxic things that was happening on the interwebs as far as what women should do in order for them not to have children if abortion is not an option. Like, keep your fucking legs closed, ladies. We was not up on 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. Okay,
yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad this 10-year-old child from, I think she was from Ohio. Too bad she didn't hear this advice, right?
She
didn't hear that, I guess.
She didn't hear that, even though she was raped. But this is something that has been running around, and we also have a whole bunch of different groups that have popped up in recent times in the manosphere, MGTOWs, incels, ex-nay, all expatriates of dating women. It's a lot. We're gonna rely on Phil because Phil has all the data. That's the reason why Phil is on the panel, because he brought all the data with him. And but I don't want to keep this one-sided, because I will definitely say that there has been some toxic information coming from the other side of the gender as well. We have radical feminists. We have, who want to say that all men should just go away and never come back again. I don't want that to happen. And and patriarchy is all a man's doing, and therefore they are the enemy and should be completely gutted from the face of the earth. So it's a lot that's going on out here, and I'm hoping that we can have a balanced conversation on what the fuck is going on with gender war. Is that okay? Okay, you can go ahead and bring me on back.
That's a lot of pressure right there. You know what I mean?
Right. I was like in front of everybody. So guys, I want you all just to chime in. Let's first let's see. Let's first talk about, where do we think, first off, these wars are coming from? Why the fight? Why does it exist? Who wants to start with that?
I'll gladly take a swing. I mean, I'm sure not an expert in anything, y'all, but it seems pretty obvious to me that ever since humans have been around and they've been recording things, there's essentially been a group of people that look to yesterday and really liked the way that things were going on then. And there are people who look to tomorrow and want to focus on that and want to push us towards what we could be. So I think there is just a traditionalist mindset, conservative in the broadest of senses. We don't have to go to politics just yet, although obviously that's where a huge wave of it is coming in the United States. And religion as well, of course. I mean, again, we see this with Christian nationalism in the United States, but there are some people out there who just the makeup of themselves are the type of person that is more about yesterday and how things were. That doesn't make it right in any sense, because its tradition is not a good reason to continue fucking doing something. But I don't think it's entirely religion, for instance, because we do see atheists that share these exact same thoughts, whether it's essentially just general misogyny or more focused towards transphobia or homophobia. I mean, it absolutely comes at us from a lot of different angles. There is an unfortunate Venn diagram that the center of which is some of the shittiest of ideas. And those, again, are running rampant right now in the United States.
That's why we have you on, Sec Rare, just so that you can say Venn diagram.
That's right. I get paid.
Yeah. You just completely just like up the intellectual level of this whole conversation.
Yeah, with that.
Well done.
Big time. Ryan, since this is the first time that I've been on this stage with you, I would love to get your input. What do you think? What's all the fighting all about?
Oh, hello there. Well, yes, thank you. It's so nice to be here, and I've been waiting to meet you because I've been a fan of your show and been watching and stuff. So I'm finally here. Thank you. I definitely agree with secular rarity. I think it's a lot of these make it great again, as if it was great at some point. And let's go back to that greatness, which means people in subjection. And to me, that means slavery. And then to me, that means it's all about control and keeping women as possessions. Because if if we as people with uteruses can't say no, can't control our autonomy, they have us pigeonholed. Is that the word? Pigeonholed? Pigeon-toed. Pigeonholed.
Hold. Yeah, you're right the first time.
They got us in a whole pigeon. They got us inside of a whole pigeon.
That's rough.
And we can't, right? But if somebody is unable to care for a child and now they have to work and they have to do all these things to take care of a child, you've got their control. They're never going to be able to do much beyond that if they don't have a system set up to be able to raise this child. And it's a capitalist society. They want to be able to control people with uteruses. And it's a pretty apparent to me, like I see it like clear as day. Like they are, when people tell you who they are, believe them, and they're saying we want to go back to this time. Why do you want to go back to that time so bad? That's weird, bro. That's a weird flex.
I mean, I don't know. I know that Phil, you are the resident married person on the panel, and I wonder, it was part of these roles that a man supposed to have and a woman is supposed to have. Was that something that was the thing that really attracted you to your partner, or no?
No.
And why not?
Well, right. No, I would say no. Those role things never attracted me as such. Because when I was a Christian, I started deconstructing that sort of mindset. And I always saw it as an equal partnership and sharing with each other, and not that, well, my wife these are the things she has to do, or these are the things I have to do. I looked at it as equal partnership. I can do some cooking, she do some cooking. She clean, I clean the house too. There are things that for me, I think there's a lot of stereotyping. There's been a lot of stereotyping, and religion has contributed to that a lot. No, it's not the only thing that has contributed, but it has contributed to that a lot. And so for me, when I was doing, as I said, the deconstruction, I realized, this is misogynistic way of thinking, putting women down, saying, oh, they can't do this, can't do that. This is their role. And this is the role of a man. A man can't do this. A man shouldn't cry, express his emotions. Me, I can cry easily if I am really moved. My wife will tell you when I'm watching certain movies, I actually feel, I'm very empathetic. I feel what is going on in the story. So it has a lot to do, I think, with a lot of stereotypes and religiosity, especially in religious countries. I think it's more the religion that contributes to that. And then people talk about the good old days, and as you say, some of these stereotypes, like women saying men are misogynistic, all men are cheaters because they had a bad experience, all men are abusers because they had a bad experience. And it goes the other way too. Some men will say, oh, all women are cheaters because they had a bad experience, they are abusers, uncaring and so on. So it is sad that people get locked into these stereotypes and cause conflict like this among the genders. Whether gender is gender, even with gender identity. That's why you're having such a problem with gender identity too. People against gender identity, because they have this traditional thinking of male, female.
Right.
And when you hear this sort of thought, that they gave and talk about, let's say, for example, church say submission. A wife must be submissive. So it is disregarding those persons who have different gender identities that want to be married, because they're saying, oh, it is only marriage is only for a man and a woman only. Right? Yeah.
Well, according to fundamentalists, they would say that if a trans person is married, or if a person who happens to be gay or lesbian gets married, then to the same sex, then their marriage is an abomination.
Yeah.
So a lot of those particular roles of who is submitting to who would just be completely thrown out. But Cindy, I wanted to ask you, because you are across the pond, and you are, I would say, in a more secular country. I would say so. I mean, because it seems like that Western Europe, even though there's all these particular churches that's there, they have turned more into museums and places that people frequent, instead of actually being more so members and patronizing. So I'm wondering, do you see a huge dichotomy between the genders when it comes to what role one is supposed to play versus the other, or is this more so in your environment a notion that's becoming more and more antiquated?
So for those who don't know, I grew up in France and moved to Belgium about 5 years ago. So I have now quite a bit of experience for the two countries, and I can say for sure that there are still some small pockets of conservatists in France, which are not necessarily related to religion. It's something that's rather weird in France, that this country is very, very much conservatist in some aspects, but it's not caused by religion. Maybe the conservatism itself is what's left from the religious exposition we had for such a long time. I don't know, but still, no, we don't have these mentalities here, especially in Belgium, which is much more progressive than France. So no, we don't have those. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but it's very, very much on a one case basis. But there's a lot of topics that we could go to, like where does this come from? Some say it's religion, but I don't think it's only religion, because conservatism is, I think it's a human trait. It's potentially natural human trait, so we can have it or we can not have it, but it's definitely increased and empowered by religion. But I don't think it's only religious. There are on Earth, there have been some matriarchal societies. So yes, in the West mainly we can blame Christianity for that. In the Middle East and part of Africa, they can blame Islam for that as well. But I think it's a war because of something Rarity said, and I've been insisting on in the past few weeks. It's this fight there is today between conservatists to impose their way of life at all costs, and progressives who are trying to bring more freedom for everyone and more acceptance and everything else. And this war is global. It's not just in the US. It's definitely linked to the fact that the entire world is politically moving to the right. And so that's why I think it's something we should be concerned about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to throw this out because and it's basically to kind of just like to just like piggyback on some of the things that you said, Cindy, especially when we're talking about when we're looking at gender and how we are looking at how the genders are relating to one another. Uh, if this is more rooted in religiosity or is it something else? Now,
Mm.
one of the things that I've noticed, and you guys can, either say yay and or nah, but is I see more societies that have a foundation in Abrahamic religions to be a bit more patriarchal
Mhm.
versus like a society that's rooted more so in, let's see, polytheism or deism. Um, I think of mm, eh, okay, if I look at, let's just say, Hinduism and Buddhism, specifically Hinduism, and this is a this is a religion that's based on multiple gods. Some of the gods that you would even see within this religion, and I'm just even if you're looking at some of its offshoots, would have gods that would possess both sexes. So
Mhm. Oh yeah.
they would and what I noticed that a lot of this stuff is being pulled from the environment that's around them, right? So this is more so of a reflection of what is within their zip code per se. So um but there is still an aspect of patriarchy in that country, in some of those particular countries. You can't deny it.
Mm.
um but I'm wondering, can we say that religion is more so a reflection of what's already in the environment and therefore patriarchy exists, or is it the opposite? And why not? Why or why not?
Yeah,
Anybody want to take that one?
I would just like to push back just real quick on Hinduism. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Hindu nationalist group called Hindutva.
Mm,
Hindutva is a hardcore right wing shove Hinduism down people's throats. We're not really
Mm.
big fans of women. We're not
mhm,
fans of the LGBT community.
Oof.
So I would say that there are definitely aspects of Hinduism,
mhm.
while it is a little bit more easy to kind of cut and paste and move things around in that
Sure.
than say Islam. Islam, although it happens, obviously there are lots of different versions of all of these religions, but I just wouldn't let off the hook Southeast Asian
Sure.
religions as well. There are some problematic things there.
Oh yeah.
But just to kind of go back to your question at the end, I would say I think it's the life imitates art, imitates life, imitates art, right? So there's a period of time where, yeah, okay, we hadn't written the book of Job yet, but they're kind of pulling some things from around them. And one of the things that was established, I mean, we just know this through history and archaeological studies and stuff, like very few societies have ever been truly matriarchal. There have been a good handful and some really, really fucking interesting ones.
Mhm.
But the vast majority of women throughout history have been subjugated by men. That is the case. And I think you write that into your holy book because you want to justify God said, this is why I treat you like this. And then that kind of influences people. And then they write it back in. And then that influences them again. Because, yeah, there is in the West, we are very inundated with Christianity. Like we casually make references to the Tower of Babel, right? That's not something that's commonplace in a lot of different countries around this world. If you dropped down into the middle of India and somebody was talking about the Tower of Babel, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't understand that reference. Whereas we always, we do have that kind of as an underlayer for us in the West.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just really thinking about like how, as you were talking about, like art imitates life, imitates art, imitates life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And how like a lot of these particular aspects that is being observed is now written in your book and then being regurgitated to keep this narrative going, right? So it but still curious also to really explore the aspect of, is patriarchy just like a human thing versus just like something that's only considered as religious.
I don't know. I feel like government and religion has always gone hand in hand, that it just seems like there's no separating it. Even if we did ideally we had it here at one point, it's right back in it. It's jumped right back in it because it's an easy way to control people. If it's written in the holy books that people are to be subjugated to somebody else, it makes you feel okay with doing it because it's God said it's okay and it's not that big of a deal. So, I mean, I don't know how to answer it other than it just seems like they've always been KISSING up in that tree or something. I don't know.
There was a book that I read a while ago, and I wasn't sure that I had the title right, so I just Googled it again real quick. But two anthropologists, Yolanda and Robert Murphy, wrote a book called Women of the Forest, and it's about a particular indigenous tribe in South America. The Munduruku have very interesting cultural practices, and it's just a really fun book just in general. But one of the things that is actually very commonplace in this society is that when a woman does something wrong, the way that she is punished is generally gang rape in front of the entire village. Okay. And one of the most eye-opening and kind of brain scramble moments is where these two individuals, these two anthropologists, are sitting with all of the women. Like all of the men have gone and they're sitting with the women and they're just talking with them and trying to understand. And it was very obvious that these women had fully absorbed this ideology and agreed. They said, yeah, that the reason that happened to her is because she shouldn't have been getting water by herself. She needed to be, doing this or what. And that's what happens. But there is a they don't take it as mythology. They think it is actual history, but there is a mythology that these people have about how many, 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 many years ago, the women were actually in charge and they did a shitty job and the men took over. And this is why they have to do that. And so that's a really interesting question. They're not in any way, shape, or form. I mean, they're very much a tribalist, animalist, not animalist, animism. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Just kind of like that general spiritual bullshit.
I have no idea. I'm just going by what you say, and then you're your own source right now, Sec. So.
Sweet. No references below, people. No references.
I already told you. You raised the intellectual level of this whole show when you said Venn diagram. Anywho, that's interesting. I remember having a conversation about this whole thing about, well, if women could do such a better job, why aren't they doing it? And I'm like, well, because men are still in charge. I can't necessarily say that a woman would do better than a man in certain things. It just really depends. I mostly look at it not necessarily in general, because I don't like to speak in generalities. I mostly look at it as who's better at it. Who's better at, this versus that? Like, if you have the job. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, who has the skill set to do X, Y, and Z, and that doesn't necessarily always have to deal with, whatever gender identification a person is running to. This has to do with what their ability is. full stop,
Mm.
you know.
Mhm.
I mean, because I know that there's like I have no problem. I'm really good at self-deprecation, have been for a very long time. So I know my weaknesses, but I also know my lane. I know where I, will shine the most, where I can uh, be as effective as possible in what I do. Um, but it's never to the point where I say, well, the only reason why I'm so great at it is because I identify as a woman. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
which is weird to me. But what's even weirder, I don't know if it's weirder or if it just is that, so we already established that most societies on this earth have been patriarchal. It's very few that have been matriarchal in general. So now that you've had and this and I would say, like, in the West, and I'm also including Western Europe and other Western countries, not just like in the West geographically, but you had like the women's suffrage movement, then you also had like the feminist movement, and then it seems like then you ended up getting, as a pushback to saying that, women or women identifying people want better rights, civil rights, to be recognized, and to have the same opportunities as men do, as men identifying people do. And then you get, especially nowadays, since like we have the internet and we have social media, a lot of these different groups have all of a sudden like popped up. You got your manosphere people, you got your MGTOW people, you got your incel people. It's so many. And then you have like these terms like red pill, blue pill. I like,
Yeah.
are we talking about the Matrix? I mean, like, I only like
Mhm.
that one, the first movie. All the other ones are trash. But anyway, that's my opinion. Regardless of that, let me get back to what I was saying. I have a hard, y'all, I'm ADHD. I get off topic a lot. But let me go back to what I was saying. So you do have these particular groups that have like popped up. And Phil is our resident dataologist when it comes to this topic. So I believe, Phil, you pulled like a story that actually lists like who these people are and what they believe and yeah. So
Yes.
can you educate us? Because like I mean, like, I only
Mhm.
know, I did like a cursory look at the article. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. So go ahead, please.
Right, with the sites. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There are different. This comes on to the manosphere aspect, to where you have a whole set of different, as you said correctly, social media groups, blog groups that appear. Okay, just give me a second. Let me right misogyny. Yeah. All right, I got this information from Misogyny, the site's 2012 spring issue. The one of the so I'm just going to call the names and give you a brief thing of what they are about. One is called the Alsuin. This is a blog that promotes intellectual renaissance of the Western tradition, just as the Nazis had to create Jewish conspiracy as a way to justify mass slaughter. So one post declares, so feminists have to create patriarchy. So they're basically, this also is saying that feminists created patriarchy as a way to justify abortion. They call it mass slaughter of innocent unborn.
Wait, hold
And
on,
men and masculinity.
hold on. What? Could you please
I don't think that's fucking right. I think that's obviously not fucking right.
Right, that is really.
It doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It's like, what? When I read it, I was like, what the madness? feminists create this
Holy
patriarchy? No,
That doesn't even make sense. That
patriarchy
makes
has been
zero
around
sense.
for many
Yeah.
centuries, right?
Something's
No,
wrong
there's-
with people.
And when you look back at ancient history, you will see that it wasn't women that was killing the unborn babies, or so it was they had wars. The guys who went to war, they were told kill, all the women, pregnant women, keep, of course, the virgins for yourself. That's very much, So I found that really, like, this is so false. That statement is so false. And they say that rape is now a political crime, not a crime of sex or violence. A man doesn't have to rape in order to be a rapist.
What?
What?
I don't
Yeah.
understand what is happening.
Yeah,
I don't. This sounds like one of
Imagine
those
that-
like
that's a
tactics
blog.
just to like confuse people. This just sounds like
Mhm.
QAnon
Oh, guess
shit.
Yeah.
what? Guess what?
Doesn't
Guess
it?
what?
Yeah.
It worked because I'm completely confused.
Yeah, like
Me too.
and some people probably fall hook, line, and sinker for this stuff. Like, oh yeah, it's mass murder. What? No, it's not. It's cells. Sorry, it's like jizz. Get over it. Sorry.
And
Yeah,
one
there's-
of- okay, continue, Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that not only there's an agenda pushed by a lot of men, not only this agenda is internalized, as you talked about earlier, by some women, and so they repeated it, but they also use every single mistake women make to go in favor of their propaganda. For example, in the 70s, there was these gender studies, and one very, very small fringe group from a feminist group started saying that there is no difference between men and women. And so this idea has been weaponized and used against women as a way to silence the speech between, there is a difference between men and women, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the same rights. We have the same rights, but we express them differently. That's all. But this idea that feminists are trying to suppress the difference between men and women, we still hear that today, 50 years later.
Yeah.
And so not only we have to fight, but we have to make sure that we don't make a single mistake along the way. And that's why it's so hard for us.
Yes, that's a really good point, because
Yes,
every single small slip up from somebody who is advocating for rights for name a group, right? If you go out there and you say one small mistake when you say, well, I just don't think we should be shitty to gay people, and then and they will never fucking let that go, and that is so upsetting and frustrating that burden is on people trying to move forward. It really is just bullshit that's the case, because they'll spend, I mean, just like Phil was reading, they'll write a whole fucking blog about something that is so clearly obviously not true, and then just like move on from it, like it's just not even a thing. They're like, okay.
It is infuriating, because basically what it does is it starts to, do these hasty generalizations on every idea ever in life, which, as human beings, we have a tendency to do, and yeah, it's like, if you just bring up, say, for instance, equal pay for equal work, then you would get, what is it? I'm trying to think of the fallacy. Sec, you're gonna have to help me out, because I don't remember all of them at the top of my head.
Oh, God. I got Google right next to me. It's always
I appreciate it. Thanks. So Phil, you got the data, and Sec, you got Google. That's great. And Ryan and Cindy, you guys got a great
Flair.
Flair. Yes. Flair. You got sass, you got flair. That's why you're called the nanny. Anyway.
That's right.
ADHD that kicked in again. Anyway.
There it goes.
What was I saying? Yes.
Oh, shoot.
So you okay, so say for instance, like you have the point about equal pay for equal work, and then like you see people will like run into going to the slippery slope of, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
When well, you don't see a whole bunch of women doing hard labor construction work, so should we over there open the door so that they can do that and get equal pay for that too? I'm like, if they can do it,
That's
Yeah.
what.
if they can
Yeah.
right, if you can do the work.
Job. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I've done jobs where they say, okay, you have to be able to lift 40 pounds on your own.
Right.
Okay. Then I can do that job. If you can't do that job, I don't meet the requirements and you don't do the job. I mean, whatever. I mean, I know there's certain things that you have to pay attention to when it comes to like disabilities and whatnot. But, you know, for the most part, then you don't do the job. If why would you want to try to lift some, why would you want to do a job where you can't do it? People don't.
Yeah,
You don't do that
I did. Go ahead, Phil, because you got your.
I can't give
got
you.
the back of the finger up real quick.
I can give you some example what y'all are talking about. Even within, as I teach science, and I have taught for this is going since 1995, and I have seen where even when I went to school, where they have this mindset that, oh, if you have home economics, it's the females are going to home economics. If you have industrial arts, woodwork and so on, the young men who have the struggles with science and those other academics, they got pushed into industrial arts and rarely was seen any no females going into industrial arts. Gladly, I must say that mindset is starting to change because we've had some females going into the industrial arts and a lot of males going into the home economics here. But that was a mindset that people had because of the, again, Barbados is a very religious society, and they had this thing, okay, this is the role of a woman, this is the role of a man, this is the role, right? So that plays some part, but as things are progressing slowly, I mean, it's still religious, but things are progressing, moving away from that sort of thinking. So, yeah, but you'll find here in Barbados, for example, you'll see there are a lot of females going into science. As I told you, I teach science, I teach chemistry too. And I normally have a lot of, the majority is females.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. Gender love, not gender war.
We're starting to see that push, though. More females are now entering into like tech jobs and things like that. Because my husband's in that kind of area, and he said there's a huge difference now than there was like several years back, which he loves because he thinks balance is great. He's a smart man, so he married me.
And you're a resident married person too. Okay.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Okay, guys. So I'm going to throw out a name that maybe some of you all haven't heard. I know that Phil is very familiar with this particular name of this person. His name is Kevin Samuels, who is no longer on this earth.
Oh yeah.
He
was something else.
Walking with the living. Yeah. And okay, moving on. So he had a lot of different controversial things that he has been known to say, which is, and it's kind of funny how with the rise of these different social media groups that have come up lately to kind of push back against feminism or whatever, then he kind of entered that space and basically became a voice for the men who were voiceless. Okay. And
Wow.
yeah, you don't you yeah you and to push back against fem feminazis who are seeking to oppress men in some shape,
What
way, or
rights?
form that
How
have
dare what rights?
silenced them. Uh, yeah, because this is a problem. If you all didn't know, and one of the things that he would say a lot when he was talking about talking specifically to women, even though that he has gone on different platforms say that my show was for men, not for women, but he would take calls from women who were seeking his advice, which is really interesting because he was not married at the time. Matter of fact, he was divorced 3 times, and apparently his a person who claimed to be his daughter said that he did not take care of her. I don't know. These are murmurings in the different interwebs, but it's very curious for any person who is like seeking how to handle a relationship properly, is asking a person who does
That
not seem to
person.
have an actual successful relationship.
Basis.
Yeah.
It's
So
like a black,
No
it's like a
foundation
black,
whatsoever.
it's
You
like
go
a
build your
black
house
person
and
going
his
to.
doors are broken.
Do
right,
as I say, but don't do as I do.
right. But what were you going to say, Cindy?
No, I was going to say it's like a black person going to the KKK for church advice or anything like that.
Well, I mean, there have been black people that infiltrated the KKK now, but it was
And
actually
it worked, and that
yeah, and it
always
worked.
relevant.
Yes.
I-
It was mostly just to bring down, domestic terrorists, basically. Right, but not necessarily for them to say this is the way to live and this is how we're all supposed to be, like,
yeah.
functioning, right? So it was very interesting that, like, people, including women, which was like really blowing my mind, that they would call in to talk with him, and a lot of times, especially if he didn't particularly care for you, or he didn't like, or he wanted to harp on something you said, he had a tendency to go really ad hominem, and he didn't. And boy, don't have a little weight on you. Don't be a little chunky. If I
not
don't, I
nice.
will never. He would rip me a new hole and a half if I went on his show.
Oh God.
And I mean, because like, how you looking for a man? And I'm not looking. I have a
Yeah,
partner,
please.
but regardless of, like, I remember listening to him one time addressing this young lady. She was like in her 20s, and I forgot what she said previously about she didn't want to marry a man who made less than a certain amount of money, and one of the things that he said to her is like, well, why would, because like he had this whole thing about high value men, like high value man is 6 figures and was a staple in his community, and high value men do not marry overweight women, or
High value man.
Or uncooperative, or uncooperative women.
uncooperative, but uncooperative also was equated to not submissive. Not submissive. He would use these terms a lot. No man wants to be with a woman who's not submissive. Which I feel like
So
is
you
very
want a child.
problematic. Yeah. Okay. So like you,
Yeah, weird how it
Ryan,
happens like that.
so you also resident married person on the panel. I want you to, like I said a lot. What do you think about that? And make that, and can you kind of like segue that into how, if that even reflects positively or negatively, or even in your marriage at all?
Oof. I have to say, honestly, I'm so thankful that I finally made a good decision in a life partner, because I constantly was looking for that biblical role, like to be submissive to somebody. Like that was just kind of, I grew up just believing that was always going to be my place, is just in the shade of this dude, whatever, whoever this dude would be. And
Father.
yeah, basically, like a child and father figure. Because if you want someone to be submissive to you, that's not a partnership. You're not looking for a partnership. That's kind of why I think, sorry, but it goes back to biblical times, when that's the kind of stuff that was going down. It's just reinforced. But like as far as our relationship, thankfully he is, well, I wouldn't deal with it, quite frankly, but I'm just saying he listens to me when I bring up these really concerning topics, because I don't think he's from England and he had no idea how bad it was here. Like when I would say stuff to him, I honestly feel like he heard me, but I think he just thought I'm just having something to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And now that he lives here and I show him the actual news articles of like, what is it? South Carolina, North Carolina, they want to pass a bill to make it legal to kill a woman if you believe she's going to try to have an abortion. So yeah, the pro-life wants to kill somebody to stop them from having an abortion.
That means we're not pro-life. That means we're not pro-life.
And you'd be killing the baby anyway, like, hello. So
Right.
he now sees how bad the patriarchy is and why I talk about it so much. And I'm truly thankful for that, because I couldn't be with anybody else, because I see it now. Like I come out of the cult mind and I'm trying to decolonize my mind. And now I'm just really seeing things for what they are. And I know we talked, like, this is going back a little bit, and how we mentioned indigenous. And I just want to say to all my indigenous friends, like in the, I don't know if you want to call it the Americas or whatever, but there were so many matriarchal tribes where that kind of shit didn't go down. You know what I mean? So a lot of what we see when it comes to the entire world is probably because it's been skewed, possibly in some way, because of that colonized lens, that Christian lens. It's infiltrated like all parts of society. And I don't think we even realize how deep it goes. I didn't even realize how deep the things went in my mind until like, damn, I used to want to be, I didn't want to be subjected to a man, but I just fell in line with it. Yeah. And that kind of goes to like the females who, when people got the rights, you know, when females got the right to vote, we didn't bring the Black women with us. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? That's still that colonized mind. We still wanted to uphold what the patriarchy said. And that's really bullshit. And that was a real huge disservice.
And you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because like one of the reasons why I would hear specifically some Black men actually dismiss feminists is for that very reason, that the feminist movement from, like, say, the late 19th, early 20th century was more so about amplifying white women's voices versus, you know, Black women's voices. And but in order to bring in or have numbers like that, you would just have like your resident tokens, right? But I love what Sojourner Truth would say a lot of times is like, hey, ain't I a woman? You know, don't I deal with these issues too? Don't I experience these particular issues too? And even though I don't necessarily call myself a feminist, I do agree with a lot of feminist talking points. I really do. And because I would say that the ones that I agree with is about equal pay for equal work. I believe that people should not be othered. I believe that, you know, if people have the ability to do the job, they should be able to do the job. You know, I don't necessarily believe that, you know, a man's intellect is more so than a woman's. If any person applies themselves, if they study to show themselves approved, you know, then they'll be able to, you know, to have the wherewithal to do whatever it is that they put their mind to. I even said this, and I truly believe this, and I'm so glad that Phil is here, because he's a teacher and he can actually double down on what I'm about to say. I really believe that if a person has the right teacher, they can learn just about any goddamn thing.
Yeah,
I really do believe that. Yeah, and the reason, you know, because I can remember specifically when I went to a Roman Catholic school as growing up as a child, and it was a co-ed school. And a lot of times I was very shy. I was very, I was nerdy. I was very quiet. I know, believe me, I was. What? And I was. And, and a lot of times my grades reflected my personality, which was very reserved. I was a very average student, you know. When I went to high school, which was all all woman school, ran by feminists who used to love to say God, our mother, father. I actually had really good teachers that was able to meet me where I was, and I would actually excel in subjects that I traditionally did not do well in, which was math. Y'all, I remember the story that my parents are funny. Hush, Jordan. Hush. Yes, I was shy. Anyway, it's called growing, maturing, things of that nature. You know, but I remember I gotta tell the story, guys. I gotta tell the story. This has nothing to do with gender wars, but I gotta tell it anyway. I'm gonna try to weave it in.
Tell it.
Okay. So when I was a freshman in high school, and that summer I took like some classes with the school that I was about to go into, math classes, English classes. I think that we did a little social studies, and then I entered in my freshman year. By the time that I was done with my last semester before we went on summer break and was about to go into my sophomore year, I had all A's and B's, including an A in math, an A in algebra, by the way.
Wowsies.
Yeah. And it was like, and then so like I brought my report card home to my parents, and I gave it to them so that they could see. And this is my dad.
Was he looking for like a pen mark, like
he was looking for my name to make sure that he had the right? I brought home the right report card. Like, this ain't your report card. You know, I gave it to my mom. Awesome. My mom was like, and he was like, Cindy. I was like, what? I know I'm called Cindy too. Cindy, what? Did you see your report card? I'm like, yeah. This is the best grades that you ever got in your life. I was like, oh yeah. And he was like, why weren't you doing this before? And I said, I guess I have really good teachers who actually believed I could do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes a big difference.
Changes
and
the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And the attitude, everything changes in the right space.
Yeah, it does. And I think that that's even something that can be learned in this space as well. I remember talking to my partner who was telling me about a particular country that was really trying to invest in women going into more traditional roles, that like in architecture, like in civil services and civil engineering, and they still didn't have like a large taker of women going into those particular roles. I said, well, how long have they been doing this? They say about 5-10 years. I was like, well, you can't just expect a whole slew of women all of a sudden just to come over to this particular side when it was not like that for the majority of the time that they've been living, or the majority of the time that country even existed. It doesn't work that way. It has to be, in my case, it's like, if we really are looking for a more balanced society, it has to be an intentional force that all of us have to participate in. And thank you, Esther. I appreciate you saying that you like stories. I like to tell stories. I'm a storyteller. How about that? But what do you guys think about that? Like, what do you all think about the intent of really making more of a balanced societies versus not? Is that something that can be done? Is that something that we are seeing, or is it just like we're just going backwards?
In France, we have this concept of anonymous resume, meaning when you postulate to a job, there is no picture and no name. So you cannot be discriminated based on your skin color, you can still be discriminated based on your gender, but ideally, every public position should be taken this way. That's what I think. Every elected member should be elected based on not their name, not their gender, but they should describe their views on the main topics, and what they want to offer, and then people vote on this. Too many people vote on people because they like them, or because they're in this party or this other party, or for whatever reason, but never or rarely for the right reasons. And this idea of applying for a job based on your skills and what you want to do, that should be much more used, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think because inevitably when we're talking about this and we're saying things like, there aren't as many women, there's a noticeable lack of women in hard construction jobs or other fields, STEM fields, and auto repair, all of that stuff, right? Whenever that talking point gets brought up, you consistently get the hardcore people on the other side who say, oh, well, what's the number? How many is the right number of women to have in a construction? How do we make it perfect so that you stop crying? And it's like, look, that what we're saying is not that we need to go through every construction company, every major financial institution and say, look, you've got 12 people in upper level jobs. We got to make sure we give 3 of them that's not what we're fucking asking for. We're asking for a concerted effort where when we are in a position to say, hey, it looks like we don't have a lot of people represented here. Like, it looks a lot like me, and that's it. And we have a shit ton of other people that are qualified. Don't bar the other people just because they're not a white dude with money. I mean, that's what we're asking for. And that's honestly a hell of a lot easier than people want to make it sound, because they don't want that world. They don't want a world where there are a whole bunch of women doing jobs that they don't think women should do. They would prefer the kitchen and taking care of kids. And yeah, again, I don't need a quota. That's silly. We don't have to do that. We just have to actually try to make a diverse business or society. It's really that simple.
Do you think positive discrimination is a potential solution?
I think in some instances it is really, really valuable. I think in other instances it may be at a diminishing return. I'm not 100% sure on that, honestly. I have heard arguments where people say, oh, well, then you're just hiring the person because they're black. And it's like, well, I mean, I guess, but you're looking at an institution that for 100 years has outright barred anybody that is not a white guy from being in this position. Yeah. And we're up against 2 equally qualified candidates, and the only thing that separates them is this guy's black. If that's the case, in my opinion, I think in an organization or in a specific case like that, there is value in saying, let's bring on this person that is not the same as everybody else. But I know, again, that is technically us saying, we're hiring this person because she's gay, right? We're bringing her on because she's a lesbian. And I understand that that's, we don't want to be doing that, but at the same time, it seems to me there's value in some instances, right?
It kind of reminds me of the whole conversation around affirmative action, and why, if it should be practiced, if it should not, does it seem to be something that is going to be consequential, or is this going to be something that's going to be affirmative for whatever the organization is trying to do, whether it be in education, whether it be in workplaces, et cetera, et cetera. But Correa brought this up, and then also I want to invite the audience to please ask questions. Make sure that you at Skeptic Haven so that we can highlight your questions, because we're about to be getting into questions fairly soon, because we've been at over an hour. Man, we could probably go for another hour, but especially because I got a big ass mouth. But but guys, what do you think? Women leaders, leaders like a president. Could a woman be president?
Absolutely.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely.
They've done it in
I
a
think
lot
it
of
says a lot
countries.
we haven't had.
Yeah, they've done it a lot. Barbados, we have a female prime minister, first female prime minister, and she's doing a darn good job.
Women
In New Zealand as well. She's amazing.
Yeah. New Zealand. I think in Sweden or Norway, like all of the major parties are headed by women right now. Like it's something like that. Like there's 5 major parties and they're all Angela Merkel. Yeah, true. And the Americans, let's see, we got oh no, we haven't, have we? We haven't done that yet. Wow, we're wow, yeah. Hey, look at us, number one, right? Yeah, we're doing it, y'all.
I mean, well, when we had one who seemed to be the front runner, she was too busy. She was too busy trafficking children through a pizza parlor.
And she's, she was just too abrasive. All those times that she spent, 20 years worth of literally finding compromises at midnight with people from other sides and stuff. It's amazing how such an abrasive person could do that. But yeah, I mean,
this is only a person that also spent time in the Senate and who actually held political office. And I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm a big Hillary Clinton fan. I did vote for her. But I'm not. I'm not saying that I am not. But I reject this notion that because she is a woman, she will be too emotional. Yeah, what is that?
Crazy.
What is that? Can we talk about that a little bit? Like, what's this whole thing about being emotional and not being able to be good at a job? What is that about?
Again, that stereotyping, the stereotyping through the ages. Women are too emotional, and I think it's
scientific studies prove it's false, though.
Right.
Yeah.
We're actually better at managing our emotions. But
remember, men that were told, if you cry, no, you're not supposed to cry, be a man. Yeah. So it's not that women are more emotional. It was that men were taught not to be emotional.
Yeah.
Which
totally.
How to manage your emotions. If you stuffing anything is good.
It's not good. It's not good. And maybe that's why they react the way that they do, especially in abusive
and when men
go ahead.
Well, stuffing mushrooms. I like stuffed mushrooms.
We're on the
peppers. Those are yummy. I'm getting hungry. Anyway,
Skeptic Haven after dark.
I know, guys. It's not Thursday. Anywho,
no, I think if women were too emotional, as it's been said, I think the men's death rate during delivery would be much higher. Because if there's a moment where men's lives are at risk, it's then.
That's a great point. I want to go back to that K Sam's guy. May you rest. I remember Phil pulled out this particular clip where he was telling what channel was he on? What was it called? It was 3 women who were the hosts, and
no, it was, you mean the one with Kevin Samuels responding to. Right, it was 3 women, but it was they weren't the hosts, they were the guests.
Okay.
And he was trying to tell them, you mean about the men are conquerors, women complaining about women saying they want fairness.
Yes.
And he was saying, but men are conquerors. Who women in history have taken over the planet.
Yes, that's what he said, that since men, he said something other. He said also some shitty. But
Yes.
that's one of them. Like basically saying like, well, women want fairness. And he said, well, you know, that's not necessarily, but men aren't, they don't work that way. We're conquerors, you know, remember,
Yeah.
like we conquer the planet, you know, like
Yeah.
name me one woman that has
That's
conquered, you know, countries or whatever. So something
You're proud of that?
silly. Right. I like, you're proud of that. And I mean, like, and you know, and here's the thing, you guys, like people who are not familiar with Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels is a black man. He's from he lived in Georgia. I believe that he's from there.
Mhm.
And the crazy thing about it is like you're espousing this whole rhetoric concerning about men conquering countries and men conquering this. And I'm like, but your ancestors were enslaved by men, white men specifically, who wanted to conquer you, conquer the Americas, conquer capitalism or what have you, and actually, you know, we received like a huge subjugation because of it. So like, how are you like big upping this? Like, you know, that's a Caribbean term. You're big up now, but you know, you big upping this, and but on a flip side, your group has suffered because of this behavior. So it made no sense to me, but. It was another thing that he said specifically, and it kind of, you know, reminded me of what Cindy said about having babies, that he said that like these three women enjoy having the different things that we've invented and we made for you, like men. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, and you enjoy life because a woman gave you that.
He said he also told them name and woman inventor.
Well, hang on, I'll get to that one in a second, Phil. But I thought I remembered a super hardcore badass female leader from history, and I have my Google foo with me, so I had to type in. I had to type in a couple of weird phrases, but we did finally get there.
Yes, yeah, very good. And then we're going to go to questions.
Boudica was a famous Celtic female who united the tribes in the British Isles, right? And kicked out the fucking Roman fucking Empire. So don't tell me that women aren't fucking conquerors. She literally beat back the strongest motherfucking military of the time. Done. Settled. Marie Curie, by the way. Settled.
Mic drop.
I have one.
Okay. Okay. So Phil, you have yours, and then Cindy, you have yours, and then we're going to go to questions. Okay, go ahead.
Egyptian. I hope
Hatshepsut.
Yes. 1508 BC to 1458 BC. She was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh. What? Egyptian pharaoh?
Yes.
Who oversaw the building of military campaigns in Syria, Nubia, and Levant. And the Levant will have been where Israel and those countries will have been.
Yeah.
And she even rebuilt broken. Yes. And she even rebuilt broken trade networks. When I saw these things, I was like, boss, you have not done your history.
Oh no, he's revisionist history. Cindy.
Yes, I just 2 points. First, the guy you've been talking about in the last 10 minutes sounds a lot like, I think he's Secular Rarity's best friend. Jordan Peterson.
Oh God! Shut up! I'm done. Bye.
And the second point is goes along with what you guys were talking about right now. It's in history, queens have started more wars than kings, and that's a fact that's rarely known because queens tended to benefit from union.
I'll say that one more time, Cindy. Your Wi-Fi did something
so,
weird.
queens started more wars than kings mostly because they tended to benefit from the unions created by the conflicts.
Yeah, and kings just prefer to marry off their kids
Yeah.
and do that. Yeah. Well, we have some questions from the audience as somebody just knocked on my door after I told them that I'm podcasting, but that's okay. Let's go to the first one. Aaron Coalson's friend of the show. So how do you convince men who benefited from or simply like patriarchal policies that in the long run that those policies are inappropriate or counterproductive?
Fuck your
Big slap.
feelings. Fuck your feelings. I don't care if it's hard for you. Piece of shit. Don't be a piece of shit. You have every right. I'm not taking your rights. If you don't want your right, you don't have to have them. But I want mine. I shouldn't have to ask for them. Shut the fuck up. Sit down.
I don't
Was
think
that
you can
good?
easily yeah, that was good, because I don't think you can really convince them. What you have to do is start educating from early. Education in school. I mean, teachers educating the younger children.
Yeah.
And in the home too.
And the home.
And in the
because
That's part of the issue.
But yeah, that's
the
part
issue.
of the issue. And you know, in the home, you might have a problem, especially if it is a religious group that believes in the patriarchal concept. And say women have their place and so on, they perpetuate that sort of thinking.
Yeah.
But that's why I said in schools, hopefully in public schools, as long as you have the public schools, and maybe that's why they want to destroy public
Oh,
schools.
don't.
Get CRT.
Don't depress me on
You
that,
need to
Phil.
get CRT. Like,
Right.
There's another way.
CRT gonna be the next show. Go ahead, Cindy. What were you saying?
Yeah, there might be another way if the person you're talking to is not a fundamentalist. If it's someone who has always lived like this and doesn't see the benefit of the change, you can try to appeal to their compassion and empathy. You can ask them questions of what do you think women who stay at home all day do? How do you think they feel alone? How do you think someone can live in prison every day, waiting for their husband and kids?
Oh, Cindy, it's simple. Let me tell you, women, when they stay at home all day, eat bonbons and drink wine and watch soap operas. I mean, didn't you watch Married with Children? Duh.
Yeah. Duh. The kids just raise themselves.
Yeah, exactly. You get some duct tape, get the kid, together, and that's it. That's how they do
The
it.
fairies are doing the laundry. Everything just magically gets done.
Just like Cinderella.
Can you put on the Christian hat, or sometimes on a Sirius channel they put on a Christian collar?
Yeah, go ahead, put on the Christian collar. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you see, Cindy, the Bible says that the woman is supposed to be thrifty and make the linen and do the cooking and prepare for the family and so on. So yeah, they are not just sitting down. They're supposed to be working with their hands at home.
And saying,
Cindy, is my standing coming up a little bit compared to Phil's now? Are you liking me a little bit more?
I think the scales.
You guys, it was so funny. In our back chat, Cindy and Secular Rarity was fighting. I threatened to pull the stream over. Yes, I did. You kids, I tell you, don't make me pull the stream over.
Yeah, for you when they said Reverend Grant, that's why I grew up like when they put on the Christian collar.
Right. That was the Christian hat. He just took it off.
Reverend Grant.
It's really okay. It's okay. You don't have to be triggered anymore.
No. I did preface before speaking. I did preface if the person is not a fundamentalist. That's obvious. But I think this this angle is maybe the most productive you can adopt.
I would. You guys mentioned people that have gone into the KKK and other terrible terrorist organizations. That's what they are. But and kind of talked people out of that. One person that I would like to highlight that has a lot of really, really great content. She is one of the founders of like the whole ex-Muslim movement around the world, but Maryam Namazi also did this. And she sat down across from people that told her to her face that they hated her. And the reason that they hated her was because she was a woman and because she is brown. I mean, simple, easy peasy. That's it. It wasn't a hide it. It wasn't a we kind of couch it in all kinds of. No, they just straight up said, I hate you because you're a woman and you're a different color. And she was able to have conversations. And by the end of, and I think she ended up putting out a compilation of all of this in like a documentary. But yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know.
I wonder if I think that she was interviewed by Seth Andrews, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she's been around a bunch of different places. I think her organization is Ex-Muslims of North America, but I could be off on that. There are
in Canada.
I believe so. So.
Okay. Yeah. Then I heard that interview before. Ooh, she better than me.
Total badass. Yeah. Right, tell me that women aren't fucking badasses. Maryam Namazi walks up into a KKK camp. Come on.
Here's the thing. I hate you because you're a woman and you're black. Okay. Well, you want to show these hands. Let's go to the next question.
Why do I even need to be nice to you? Like at that point, like F you. I don't care what you have to say then. Like,
oh boy. Okay. All right. Ryan, this is all you because I said, have any of you noticed that it seems that in the United States, they seem more nasty to women in politics than men for things they are not even doing? Ryan, you start.
Oh God, absolutely. I mean, haven't y'all noticed it? I feel like, I don't know what it is. Is it just since COVID? The past 2 years, it seems like there has been a huge showing up of all these white Christian nationalists who are running for offices and like school, like lower level offices, because they want to get in to where they want to get to the kids, because they know they we were just saying like not too long ago, it starts with the education. It starts with kids, and they're launching an all-out attack on women. I mean, the whole bodily autonomy, taking that away from us is putting us in a bad position. Hey, Neil.
Yay. It's funny because you're spot on. That's part of the Operation Blitz agenda, is to also infiltrate school boards and change curriculums. I read a story, and it may even be it probably will be in the next, not this nonprofits, but the following one, where Texas, there's some school officials in Texas that wanted to change the word slavery into involuntary relocation.
Yes.
You've got to be fucking kidding.
Because that's exactly what slavery was. We just involuntarily relocated here to do.
That's all they did. That's all that happened.
They just didn't want to be relocated.
It was just a really long vacation while picking cotton and making indigo, and also picking tobacco and building railroads.
Babies and everything. That's a whole nother thing. But this is why it's so important to pay attention. Like, I know that voting isn't like the be all end all. I totally get it. But at this very moment, we are under attack. Like, I think you had asked at the very beginning of the show, like, do we have a refuse? Is this going to be changing? And I feel like unless we really start going to war and start putting our money where our mouth is and start speaking up and letting the world know what's happening, if people aren't paying attention, like they're just thinking this is no big deal. Like, no, this is seriously going to affect history here. It's going down. It's going down.
Yeah, I fear for United States. I seriously do. And then not only United States, but then the trickle down to other countries, especially Caribbean. As I told you, Caribbean is religious. The government panders to Christianity here more so.
Yeah.
And we need to. We
Yeah.
need to pay attention to the things that aren't flashy and exciting and look, it is obviously a horrible fucking decision from the Supreme Court regarding Roe versus Wade. I absolutely I see that as just I personally do not see the Supreme Court as a valid branch of our government anymore. They have just blatantly thrown out their rules and everything, right? But
this particular court, no, not now.
But
no.
one of the reasons that shit was possible was because of unsexy, uninteresting, not fun data. Was because one of the things that happened over the last 10, 15, 20 years was small little incremental things. They started changing up the district, and then they said, well, you know what? Okay, hang on. You can't vote for this reason. And then they said, well, actually to be on the ballot, now you have to meet this criteria. They started doing all of this in very small places.
Gerrymandering. Yeah.
And it was a build up to that. And that is the shit that we have to fucking watch. We need redistricting.
It wasn't just gerrymandering, and you're right, Ryan. We can't sit back. It was gerrymandering and also people running for lower municipal and statewide elections. Sometimes people who happen to be in districts where they go unopposed. Bebo Bobert, Lauren Bobert. I believe that she's going unopposed, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she's going unopposed.
No,
I believe so.
Are you kidding me?
I wish I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's going unopposed, and
this is not a country.
This but the thing about it is that people and it's frustrating to me too, because I've been very much so activated in politics over the last, I would say 10 years. And at first I used to think, oh, it's unsexy, it makes my brain hurt, my cells start to my hey kitty, my
anxiety
start to just blow down my ears and all this other stuff. Hey kick it. But the thing about it is that we have to be of the mindset that we need to pay attention, like Secular Rarity said, to these particular things, because they eventually rule our lives. Like judges rule our lives, mayors rule our lives, our councilmen rule our lives, our state representatives rule our lives. I mean, here that's in the States. We have to be more conscious about who are these people that are running for these offices, what they stand for, how would it affect me? I remember I voted against a person specifically who came up to me to talk to me about what they wanted to do. And the main reason why I voted against them is because he kept on, talking about how, even though that he wanted to do more things in our city to be more equitable to Black people, he started doing a whole bunch of God talking. And which made me and then I stopped him and I said, sir, you're doing a lot of Jesus speak, and even though you say you're not really a Christian, but whatever, and I just have to ask you a question.
It works on the gullible.
Yeah, I mean, but that's most of our Congress is like almost 90% Christian. But I asked him, I was like, how do you feel about the Establishment Clause? And he paused for a good 30 seconds before he answered me, I believe in separation of church and state. I'm like, it shouldn't take you that long.
Yeah.
And then he said, most Black people have a tendency to be a bit more conservative in their politics. And then he asked me, do you think the transgender people should play sports? I said, yes. Next question.
Why can't they?
So when I went to the polls, I remember having a conversation with this person. I was like, nope, because I didn't want nobody like to ruling me, because if a person tells you that they don't take their religion into their politics, they are a fucking liar.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yep.
And yeah,
Look
go
at the
ahead.
people who work
Yeah.
at Walgreens. The people at Walgreens can't even fill out simple birth control for people because it's against their religion. And if that's okay, that's okay to tell me I can't have my prescription, then I'm sure it's going to be okay for Congress to say like, I'm going to vote against this because
Right.
I don't want that and I don't think it's proper. Yeah,
Exactly.
you need to
'Cause
be able
Jesus
to
said.
separate this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
Jesus said, my asshole. Sorry.
It is the religion. There's one of my concerns, especially about people who claim to be religious and running for political office, especially if they are fundamentalists too. Fundamentalists, it could be fundamentalist, evangelical, fundamentalist, Catholic, whatever. Their religion is going to dictate the policies that they make. That is a fact. I've seen it happen here.
Yeah.
And we had a politician who he was on the present government side. And when the government landslide, he decided he forming his own thing. Thankfully, he did not want. He only been about 4 votes in the last election. But he was talking about not changing laws against LGBTQ and some real horrific stuff that needs to be changed, marginalizing other groups. So I was like, I know that from being a fundamentalist, I know the sort of thinking, the doctrinal teaching puts them. They have to. For them, God first, everything else goes to shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's a perfect segue to the next question. Any ideas to help us identify inequities in daily life? For example, corporations don't make salaries public. How do women know if they are being paid less for the same job? Ooh, that's a really good question.
That's a very good question.
And I, I've had always like seeking. I remember like, even having to have this fight recently at my job about salary. I'm still fighting about my salary because like they said, okay, at this particular tier, no matter what you are, if based on this experience, you should be making this type of money. And I'm like, all right, where's my money? And they're like, well, we're
still nothing. Pay me. What are you talking about?
Right.
Oh my God.
We're still verifying things. I said, my education and experience has not changed since I came to this damn job. Pay me what you owe me, motherfuckers. But the thing about it is that even though it's a nonprofit, like the lower staff levels, their salaries are not published. The only person that we know is like the general officers, like the CEO, the CFO, and the COO. But but when it comes to like the lower levels of staff, to make sure that providers who are identifying gender, women versus men, are they making the same amount? What about those who happen to be in case management? What about those who happen to be nurses? What about those who happen to be MAs with skill sets, et cetera, we don't know. So, so a lot of times we just deal with this generality of like women have a tendency to make about 70 cents to the dollar versus men, but like, how do we change that, guys? What are your thoughts about how do we change that to make, salaries more public so that we can make sure that we can actually get to an equitable solution? Yes, Ryan.
One thing is, I think talking about it, just talking to the people who you work with. I never used to because I was so dumb and I was told you shouldn't. Duh, I should be, because I probably would have been getting paid more because I would have realized I was getting paid way effing less. Derp. And then also too, I think like if you're in a position of power and it's not your business, it ain't your money. So like stop being stingy with it. If you're allotted a certain amount, don't be like, I'm not gonna give people money. Give people money. If it's not your business and you have the wherewithal to do it, give people money. Stop acting like it's your money.
There's also this new thing. I don't think it's been around very long. It's unions.
Oh,
Maybe I'm.
unions.
I've heard about
It's a
those.
tough one. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's
that's-
like a type of vegetable that you cut up and then distribute to people. I don't know, but
Can you put it in stir fry? Can you put it in stir?
Yeah.
Maybe
is it a root vegetable? Do we know? I don't know.
Oh yeah, or starchy vegetable.
All right. Oh, I think that we could put it in soups.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, on that one specifically, hell yeah, there's some things we can do. I mean, Rion hit a bunch of it, and on everyday things that are occurring all the time to people. I think I'm a big fan of education on everything, so that's always where I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
One really, really valuable thing is going to spaces and listening to people who have gone through this shit. You don't need to theorize. You can just go listen to somebody that has been through it. You can go listen to a woman that has been treated like shit at her job for the last 5 years, even though she's the most goddamn qualified person on the team.
Yeah.
You can go listen to that. And then when you're in a space where you have the chance to do something about it, just say something. Say, hey man, look, I don't really think you should be saying that. You know, she's got 3 fucking degrees and you don't have any, you know, like let her, she knows what she's doing. Hey man, what are you doing? Why are you here right now giving this person hassle, right? You don't care about anybody else's collared shirt. It's just this person. Like when you're in a place where you're seeing stuff, say stuff. Obviously, that's super helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally hear you. Phil, did you want to put on your Christian collar shirt again?
No, not the Christian collar. I wanted to say, in relation to this, this is in terms of the same thing, but I am talking now. I'm looking at in relation to trans. I know of a trans woman, a friend of mine, who had a job, and there was disparity because she was a trans woman.
And that happens.
Wage disparity. She was having an interview for a job, and she told me that the job was going really fine until she said, "I am a trans woman," and then it totally changed, and she didn't get it.
Yeah.
So you have some disparity there too. But one of the things maybe they can do is say, speak with my lawyer. But anyway, but the thing is though, yes, more people need to speak out, and persons need not only speak out, but if they have information about the salary wages a man in the position is getting and female is getting, that should be posted too, right? So that people are made aware, so that females going in to these jobs will be made aware.
More transparency.
Yeah.
Way more transparency.
Yeah. And don't sit back and take it. You know, don't sit back and take it, agitate. That's what you have to do. And as you said, unionize too. Get unions involved. Because as soon as unions are involved, it changes usually the landscape. It changes things. That's why we have unions. Although some people say, oh, they ain't really do much. But still, you get things done through a union because you have the backing of a whole set of people, like-minded people too, when it comes to these issues.
No, unions have become necessary because far too many organizations have been exploitive to their workers. And a lot of times there are even workers who may not necessarily know their rights as workers, and employers take advantage of that. So And so if you have the opportunity, I would tell anybody, if you're a lower, the rank and file person like me, and you all have an opportunity to go ahead and organize, yabba dabba do that shit. And
I'm stealing that. Yeah, but
That's
that.
it. All right.
do that shit. That's
Yeah,
right.
but
goddamn.
do it.
Okay. And this is our final question, I believe. I don't know if Skeptic Haven we have any more, but this is the last one that's been starred from the Afro-Humanist. Hello, Esther. I think that there never will be an end to gender wars. It's always going to be a thing with us humans. Do you agree or disagree? Cindy, I want you to kick us off with this one. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? You're muted. You're muted.
I don't know. I think it will depend on the war I was talking about earlier between conservatism and progressivism. Whoever wins in the next 10, 15 years will decide what the world will be in the next 100 years. So if conservatives win, then the answer is no. There will never be an end to this war. But if progressives win, really win, I think there's hope. Because between this and the gradual elimination of religion, then slowly the reasons to separate us are getting away.
Yeah.
So
maybe. Okay. I like that solid maybe. Anybody else has any thoughts on that? Agree or disagree?
I agree with Cindy. The more people that move away from the religious patriarchal stuff, more that move away, very likely you will have it will move towards that direction. It will go in that direction. So you just gotta keep chipping away, as we have been doing over the years, because the demographic is changing, going from religious more so to nuns and so on. And the education, educate, you will get eventually, I think, closer, and it will drown out a lot of that unnecessary noise.
I don't know that I know the answer to this one at all. I think there's a part of me that, kind of what Cindy was talking about a little bit. There is this kind of innate sense in some people it seems to be more conservative, and in others to be more progressive. I don't know if that's something we can ever completely get away from. I also, though, would say I kind of feel about this question like I do when it comes to are we ever going to completely get rid of religion? Or will we ever completely get rid of homophobia and other disgusting, horrible things like this and harmful things? Even if we don't get rid of it all, I think we should constantly be fucking working to minimize it as much as possible. And that is not us losing. If we don't get rid of every single bastion of religious thought or misogynist thought in the world, let's keep going and let's keep trying. But if we have gotten rid of it out of 95% of the world, that is a huge victory we need to be proud of. Because I don't know, maybe there is just something inherent to being a human that there's always going to be somebody that's born like this. But I don't want you running our fucking government, and I don't want you telling half of the people in the country that they're literally less valuable just because of how they were born. That's bullshit to me.
Yeah,
I agree. What say you, Ryan, before we wrap up our dog and pony show?
Well, I would definitely say we never like secular Rarity said, never stop fighting. We should never give up the fight because too many people have died for us to even have the ability to speak on these topics. I mean, the only reason that we're here is because people have literally given their life so we could be here to even say these things. So I would never say never. I would love I would love to say that there would be a time where there won't be wars like this going on against our bodies, but it's never going to get better if we just sit down and just let it happen to us because Christianity is dying out. I mean, it's part of me feels like this is like the death rattle of something that's going and it's rearing its ugly head and it's causing this huge rift and divide that it's eventually just going to be like the blazing fire that just burns its freaking self out at some point, which is what I hope for. I mean, people can change, humans, and I've changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I never thought that
Me too.
I had no idea how much of me that I needed to change, and I know now how much I still need to go. But I feel like if we start people when they're younger and give them the education and let them know, like, we've been sold up the freaking river, like all this bull crap they fed us in school, like it's not the truth. I think once we start to peel off the ugly layers and start to talk about stuff because we now have the freedom to do so, things can be affected and change can be enacted. So keep fighting the good fight, never say never. We can make it happen.
Keep fighting the good fight, people. You know,
Yeah.
I'm of the mind that reason could win out of just about anything, Cindy. And I say that to you specifically because that's your mission, to get us all to be reasonable and to actually employ critical thinking. And I think that if we, no matter what you identify as, whether if you identify as a man, whether you identify as a woman, whatever your sexual orientation is, whatever your affiliations are, that we can definitely get to the point where I think that we can really dismantle these social constructs because that's what it is. I mean, when we look at gender is a social construct. Race is a social construct.
Yes.
All these things are social constructs. These are completely human made, in order for us to be able to maneuver the world around us. But we just as we no longer have to worship the sun because if we don't give it praise, it won't come up in the morning. Or just like we don't have to do rain dances because we think that we need them to water our crops. And just how we no longer worship the moon because we know that it's actually just a planetoid. I think that with more knowledge and especially like being able to give one another opportunity to be just who they are and just let them be who they are. And this is and these are for people who happen to occupy the extreme portions, whether it's extreme feminism, extreme patriarchal MGTOWism, or whatever you call it, right? I think that once we get a chance to stop these putting like a lot of these particular labels on people and saying that because my religion says that this is what you're supposed to be, this is how I'm supposed to see you, or even like society has said historically this is who you are, so this is the way I see you. I would really encourage any person to really stop and say, just because this is what's fed to me, does that mean that it is so? And if we can really get to the point where we start to really do self-examination of our beliefs and ourselves and see if they hold up, maybe, just maybe, we can leave a lot of these toxic notions behind us. I have hope, people.
Jeez.
I really do. I have hope. Now will I see this in my lifetime? Probably not. But but as everyone was saying on the panel, is if we can really start to chip away at some of these ideas and notions, then maybe we can get to the point where it's non sequitur. I'm hoping, because like
Mhm.
I thank you. Get to work, people. You
We
have
know
been
our mission. Let's go.
Right, you have been charged with the mission. Get to work, because I'm tired and I don't feel like fighting with people on Twitter no more.
Oh gosh.
Oh, it hurts my brain. It hurts my brain.
I know,
Oh man.
you all know that little gif with the little baby that like walk into the room, go whoop, and then walk right back out again.
Yeah,
like
walk right-
like stumbles back. That's me every time I go into social media. Like, nope, not today.
What am I
Not
doing
today,
here?
Satan. Not today. I want to thank my panel for being on
Thank
today, and also thank my
Thank you.
co-host
That's
Cynthia
great.
for helping with the conversation. I appreciate all of you all. Before we go, though, I want everybody to chill a little bit, chill a little bit lots. Before we call it quits for the day, I'm going to start with my I think that's my lower right, Phil, Ryan, Sec, Cindy, and then yes. So go ahead, Phil.
Okay, yeah, I think was happy to be on the show today and be able to help contribute, and we've learned a lot here too. And y'all guys rock. Y'all guys rock. Yeah, yeah, y'all guys rock. I say that. That's it. Y'all guys rock.
Well, I guess it's me now. Thank you thanks for having me. This was a great discussion. I needed discussion, bringing ideas to the table and trying to understand people's positions. And again, that's the only way we're going to affect change is just by opening our mouths and sometimes being afraid to make mistakes. Like embarrassment is where change can happen. So like, you're going to fuck up. We don't got to be perfect, but we got to keep like progressing. So so if you want to like follow me or whatever, you can find me on Rion Cultastic. That's my YouTube channel. I am also on TikTok, Tax the Churches, and you can find me on Twitter.
Agree.
Tax the damn churches, please.
I agree.
And you can also find me on Twitter at Nat_Yahoo. There you have it.
Awesome. Sec Rare, I'm not gonna cancel you like everybody else in the show did.
I appreciate that. That's why you're my favorite. Like, that's just the way. Yeah, I have to say I am so excited to have been on this channel, but also with these people, because the four of y'all, I've listened to a bunch of things you guys have said. Always deeply fucking enjoy it. And there's wonderful things that happen on this channel regularly. So I was glad to get to hang out and have fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who the hell isn't subscribed already? What's wrong with you? I'll straighten you out. I'll straighten you out.
Yes. I was gonna do all the things, guys, after everybody got a chance to give their piece.
I will be hanging out tomorrow with the awesome Kenneth Leonard on Talk Heathen. So if you guys are free at 1 p.m. Central Time, and then Monday, the day after, I will actually be hanging out with Helen Green and Kara Griffin. I don't know if anybody knows those wonderful people, but they are fantastic, and them and the Recovering from Religion organization. Very, very excited for both of those. And then, and this is the last thing I swear, and I'll shut the fuck up, but I am thrilled that there is the Nashville Nuns Convention for 2022 happening just next week, right here in my hometown. I am deeply excited. So there's going to be a lot of great people there. But that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, NanoCon, guys. Like, if you can go, I wish I could go, but I can't. But if you guys can go, it's gonna be. They have a fantastic lineup, including Seth Andrews is going to be there. Dave Warnock is going to be there. Friend of the show, Mandisa Thomas is going to be there. I think that Matt Dillahunty is going to be there. It's going to be a lot of good content creators that's going to be there. That's really doing like some great work. So if you guys can go to Nashville and take over that shit, do that shit. That's all I got to say.
Yabba dabba do it.
Yabba dabba do that. And then, and last but definitely not least, Cindy, chill away, darling.
Yeah, remember that every single discrimination on this planet exists because there is a bad information or a lie at its core. And the only way to fight this bad information or this lie is with rational thinking. That's why we need to teach it at school. So if you want to hear more about me, you can go to my channel, The Path to Reason, where I occasionally do shows on Fridays. You can see me also here because I'm one of the rotating hosts. And in 3 weeks now, you are going to be able to witness the birth of a new show, which will be, we still don't have chosen the name, but it will be something about international atheism and won't be centered around the US, but most Europe, Africa, Canada, and possibly Asia. So this will be on Saturday, just before Women Atheist Unload. So prepare for that because I will be hosting with Mateo Montero, the amazing and only and best cartoon on the community. Yes, I can't wait for that. And thanks all for showing up, the panel and in the chat.
Thank you.
Yes. That is fantastic. Yeah, I saw that Mateo has joined the Skeptic Haven family, and we have a tendency to talk a lot about the U.S. because we're basically on fire. So it's kind of nice to segue from the U.S. to talk about international atheism. This is one of the reasons why I like listening to the BBC World News, because you get a chance to hear about what happens in other countries and to see, are they on fire like the United States? Not as much. But not as much as of late. But I think that would be great. I can't wait to see this show come up, and everybody I believe does like YouTube stuff here, so make sure you guys like and subscribe to all their stuff. And if you want more of me, I am a regular host on the Nonprofits, which is the flagship show of the ACA, and it premieres every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So please like and subscribe there. Also, I'm a regular rotating host here on Skeptic Haven with Women Atheists Unload. So, I try to, bring in my two times a month to say things and to jibber jabber. And people seem to say, hey, Cynthia, you should jibber jabber. And I'm like, all right. So I do. But I enjoy doing I enjoy doing this, and I just love that we can have like different forums and bring on people to have like very meaningful discussion. So I always appreciate that. Also, I am in the process of, and one day I will actually launch our me and my partner's channel, Freedom and Freethinkers. I do have my speech that I gave at Better on that particular channel. So you guys go ahead and check it out. If you didn't get a chance to go to the Better conference or see like the speech, please go to Freedman Freethinkers, so that you can check it out. I talked about the dichotomy between Black people and white religion. And also I have a few things that I'm going to be appearing at this year. I'll be at Women of Color Beyond Belief here in Chicago at the end of September, early October. So make sure you go to Women of Color Beyond Belief.org and get your tickets for that. I think either .com or .org, but just go there. Just Google Women of Color Beyond Belief. It will come up. If you can come to Chicago, that'll be great. I will also be in Houston, I believe on the 22nd of October. I'll be doing a talk there at Houston Oasis. And I will also be at the Freedom from Religion Foundation's conference, which is going to be in San Antonio, Texas, I believe, starting on October 28th. And I also will be, I'm not presenting there, but I just want to leave the country. So I'm going to the Black Non-Believer CCon. Come get the fuck up out of here. At least for a week, I can say that I am actually not in the US, and I'm really happy about that. And, you know, and hopefully I get a chance to do that more often next year. I got my passport. I can't wait to get it stamped. So, and everybody, if you guys really enjoy this channel, there is like Secular Rarity said, there's a lot of stuff that happens here all week long, and you guys to really subscribe to this channel. It's great content coming out here, so please like this video, do all the things, share it on your social media. Let's get those likes up, people. The name of my oh yeah, that's right, I do a show right now with my partner, it's called Rare. It's every other Thursday on By the People Media. My partner's name is Arthur Ward. He is also the self-proclaimed Pope of Atheism. Secular Rarity had the pleasure of meeting the Pope,
and he didn't even make me kiss his ring. It was awesome. He was real cool. He was real cool. He was really cool about it. Yeah,
I'm not mistaken. So, but yeah, guys, please make sure that you all like this video, subscribe to the channel, share so that we can get our numbers up. We really want to make this a safe space for skepticism everywhere and anywhere. And everyone, I want to again thank my panel. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Rion. Thank you, Secular Rarity. Thank you all. And thank you, chat participants and audience members, for watching. I saw some great comments in the chat. Thank you guys again for watching. Until next time, we will see you. Bye and bye.
Bye. Bye.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way.